I'm a fan. Can I smell your cock?
That's what I'm going to say to the guys we're interviewing.
Oh, man, you're in love,
more
Gina.
than a little excited.
Well, good. You can ask any questions you like.
Goody.
Some interesting stuff here with Federico. Yeah. Artist and an art collector, and he painted a portrait of George Burns when he was 17. George was very impressed and introduced him to executives at PBS and NBC and ABC, and we're looking at some of his paintings now. They're spectacular, real art for those. Again,
not just throwing a bucket at the canvas.
Well, to be consistent with what I'd say about Paris Hilton being a DJ. Mm-hmm. Kind of anyone can do it, and what is the job?
Right.
And you show me some of the greatest modern art painters, masters of the last 50 years, and put Hunter Biden stuff next to it.
Can't tell the difference.
I cannot tell the difference. So what does that say?
You're saying he's up there.
Yeah, he's really... he's making a name for himself.
I actually like Hunter stuff better than a lot of, again, just the big orbs painted on a 6-foot canvas. It's a little more interesting to me, but...
These are spectacular.
Federico knows how to paint, but he's also a man after my own heart because he purchased a painting at auction in 2014. In Frankfurt, Germany. He discovered a 17th century painting at a gallery that he thought, well, this got some value. He paid about $140,000 for it, and it's worth $10 million today.
Oh,
so that's a good eye for art. We can talk to him about that and many other things as well. So it's funny. We started with our holiday for our Latin friends, and I had a thought that was going to dovetail nicely to that. I've talked about this before, but I've now grown and matured and have a more nuanced thought about this thought that I've expressed to you guys before, which is I was walking through the neighborhood about on Halloween. It's probably about 5:36 in the evening. And I was trucking up a street and noticed a group of trick-or-treaters, about 4 or 5 parents, maybe 7, 8 kids, all, 5, 6, 7 years old, running from house to house. And as I was passing them, I noticed they were all speaking Spanish. And then I was like, oh, these are folks from Gina's neighborhood who've come to my neighborhood to help themselves to some of the candy that the taxpayers can provide. And so I was like, Now, I don't generally like that because my plan is if your neighborhood's a piece of shit, you should find out firsthand by going trick-or-treating.
Sure.
And then once the sting of your candy corn ball with cat hair in it, or just nothing, guy answering the door in a tattered bathrobe with a boner, you then can say, well, maybe we should work on fixing up our own neighborhood. But I have a more nuanced approach to it now. And there is a thing, and by the way, a bad sign for a community when people are like packing up the minivan and driving down the freeway 8 miles, and like when you move your kids to trick or treat, because
it's a sign.
It's a sign because growing up, there was no such thing as this. There was nobody rolled into anyone's neighborhood.
Not in Kansas.
There was always lore that, in Beverly Hills, Zsa Zsa Gabor gives out full-size Snickers bars. Like, I was like, oh my God.
That was the legend.
But we don't know if it ever was true. It was apocryphal. Maybe he's meant, maybe it was like with the opposite of the razor blades and the candy apple. Like, did it ever happen? We don't know. But nobody was going to pack up their kids and gerrymander them to some other district that had better candy.
I will say, I for the first time, I discovered evidence firsthand of the house that gives out the full-size candy bars this year. And,
it's not the Bishops?
Because we go to Christy's parents' house, up in Westwood. Yeah, and there was a house there on I don't know, Rochester and Manning, full-size candy bars.
So you partake in this skullduggery.
Yeah,
technically.
And technically, if we're going to be accurate, they're not from my neighborhood. Those kids are mostly Eastern European. Little like Russian street urchins.
Oh, interesting.
These days.
In your neighborhood. So anyway, that clearly came from somewhere.
Right.
Now, my plan is stay in your own shitty neighborhood and learn firsthand how bad it is. But okay, it's hard to talk about other subjects to 6-year-olds, when you talk about, GDP or employment or paying your fair share. But shitty candy,
they can get on board.
Speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Now, of course, my mom famously handed out small boxes of raisins and then walnuts at some point.
How
later.
did you not get egged constantly?
Well,
eggs, free eggs.
They didn't need eggs. They had walnuts.
Oh,
they had
that's true.
Bullets.
Unshelled walnuts, full-size projectile walnuts.
They were still in the shell. Kids have their own nutcrackers.
Little brains.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you had a certain South American bird with a pronounced beak, you could probably get into these. If you had a toucan or something like that. But other than that, you're not cracking these walnuts. So they would just be thrown back at the house, of course. The raisins didn't do as much damage when they were thrown back at the house.
Soft projectile.
But, that was my mom's version of she was doing her own like Greta Thunberg there.
Yeah.
I'm going to change the dynamics of this neighborhood by handing them shit they don't want.
Yeah.
Which just angered them. It didn't affect any change.
And let me, by comparison, tell you how truly awful it was what your mother did. Vinny handed out candy.
Oh, really? Even the great
We
Vinny.
talked about that. I said, this is the day that little kids put life into living. You say put life into living. This is their day. Don't screw them. And your mom couldn't get it done.
Couldn't get it done. But I was thinking about it. A sales pitch is, we talk about homes and values and square footage. They talk a lot about neighborhoods and the fire department, the police, and the school systems. Got a good school system.
Sure.
I'd say the ultimate is people get dropped off here to trick or treat.
Oh, yeah.
If you're looking for a good neighborhood, having kids muled in by coyotes and dropped, but many have relationships with. Okay, let's not get political, but they bring them in. That's all you need as a selling point for this is a good neighborhood. But anyway, I've gotten a little older and I've relaxed some of my thoughts on this, and I now want kids to do the first hour in their neighborhood, and then you can be moved to the nice neighborhood and do your second 2 hours there.
That's how we do it.
Now you get a juxtaposition.
Yeah.
That's how you did it?
Yeah, you see our neighbors. We see neighbors. We text the neighbors like, hey, we'll be here till so-and-so o'clock. Come on over, and then they do the thing. We go to their houses, and then, the party.
Brian gets sufficiently depressed, and then they go to Westwood.
Like, enough of this.
So we have. I told Chris we've done it before. I was watching the Kaepernick special on Netflix last night. It's really not exactly what you think it is. Just sort of young Colin Kaepernick.
He doesn't do a comparison to the Holocaust this time, does he?
No, that's in episode 3.
Okay.
Right. He's just everyone saw the excerpt that was on with comparing the NFL Combine to slavery, and again, there's some holes in that logic, but okay. But it was really more his appearance. I mean, his afro gets bigger every day.
And the black on black, the leather and the turtleneck.
He's got sort of the Huey Newton black kind of blazer and a black. And he's just, it is essentially, if you were white and you were going to dress as a black person for Halloween, you would dress like Colin Kaepernick does for this. But to me, the thing that's even more interesting is the voice. So we've done an A and B on this, but I told Chris, just pull an early one like him press conference for the 49ers. 20 seconds of that must have been 2013, 11. I don't even know anymore.
10-ish years.
When was the... Brian, you should know. When did he get drafted by the 49ers?
I feel like he was around 2010 is when he took over as a starter, 2011. Mm-hmm. Chris can maybe verify.
All right. Well,
2011 to 2016.
A decade ago, this is what he sounded like. Short hair, by the way.
Mm-hmm. I think my comfort level is about the same as the beginning of the season. I've been comfortable this whole season with everything. Compared to last year, I think I'm a lot more comfortable, more so with the offense than what defenses are doing. our offense has a lot of volume, and that's something that just takes a little bit of time.
All right.
Sounds like every kid from Shawnee Mission, Kansas I went to high school with.
Now we'll see what he sounds like at the beginning of the Netflix special.
But let me tell you something. What they don't want you to understand is what's being established is a power dynamic.
The lingering stare.
Yeah.
Smolder.
Before they put you on the field, teams poke, prod, and examine you, searching for any defect that might affect your performance. No boundary respected, no dignity left intact.
Yeah, he's kind of got what the white politician does when they go to the black church. You know, they
Leaning
just
in.
do it up a little bit. All right. Also, somebody tweeted me that my Recyclarolla that I
The shoot.
unveiled upon a breathless nation about it's been about 20 years since the advent of the Recyclarolla. Now, I did not name it the Recyclarolla. I wanted to call it the jacuzzi. I wanted to name it after somebody else.
Sure.
Sure.
But
Bold gambit.
that's Kimmel's idea. I installed one in a house. I installed one in my house, and then I installed one in the house that I rebuilt on that TV show, my dad's old house. And then I installed one in Jimmy's old house. But somebody's gone next level with the Recyclarolla. And when you see it, you're like, yeah, this makes sense.
Oh.
You take your kitchen.
Oh, there you go.
Smart.
You have a couple of chutes. You have a trash chute and you have a recycling chute, I think, or maybe a glass in a bottle or something like that. But a couple of stainless steel panels, probably 10 inches by 10 inches. You do it up on the backsplash of your kitchen. Your kitchen counter is higher than your bathroom counter. Now, basically, bathroom counter's 32 or a little below. Kitchen is a 36. Bars are like a 42.
Tell me about that, Grandpa Carolla.
In general. So you're 36, and then you kick it up about 10 inches from the countertop and put it in the middle of the backsplash. And then the trash cans that are outside, they're about 36 inches high, maybe 34. You put a little pad out there. And this thing has a chute made out of like extruded nylon or plastic or something, and a cover
Like a lid.
that goes on top of the trash can. Mine was just a flume. And then you do it because I don't know about you guys, but I feel like, Phil gets into my garbage. Phil, if you leave...
Sure.
If you leave that slider open, he'll get his paw. You don't have to leave it open. You leave a little daylight. He'll
Yeah.
get his
He
he'll get his
finds a
paw
way.
in there. He'll pull it open. He'll rummage through the garbage. But it is kind of it's an interesting conceit that we live with our garbage.
Yes, it's like when you stop and think, like, there is a litter box in this house that a cat just shits in.
Yeah,
like,
why
it's
is this
weird.
all inside the house?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really think about it, and some of them have the flappy lid on them, or some of them are in the thing you pull out. But in the middle of the kitchen, which theoretically the most pristine. Well, all right. What if somebody said, "I would like to put your kitchen garbage can in your bathroom"? You'd go like, "Ugh!" Like, no, that's disgusting, right?
Yeah.
Well, how about the place where you make the food?
Where you enjoy
food. Like,
cooking.
you live with it. And, I got, Natalia's getting her Grubhub and she gets her burgers and chili fries and stuff and just throws
Smashes
half
that,
of it
yeah.
away. And then Olga's cooking and you're scraping the gristle or the chicken skin or whatever. And then you live with it for 3 or 4 days, and then you empty it, or ants start marching in, or whatever that thing is. The dog gets into it. It starts to smell a little bit. Or, and even better, you have no idea how much wine you drink. Like, for the people that drink wine, you know how many bottles you go through in a week. You don't need that graveyard staring you in the face.
No.
Prying eyes,
Yeah.
neighbors,
Judging
Dr.
bottles.
Drew swinging by
Oh,
for an
boy.
evaluation.
Sure.
Right down the chute. Drink to your heart's content. Whatever your weapon is. Maybe you drink a little too many diet sodas. You don't have to stare at that graveyard. Just boom.
Just like your problems, down the chute.
Down the
out
chute.
of sight, out of mind.
And none of that thing where it's like, you get that thing sometimes where you go, oh, we're going to keep the recycles up top because the can, it's a different can, or we don't have enough room in the can, it's already too full, or whatever. Boom.
Problem
all
solved.
out the chute, right into the can.
It's so futuristic. Like, and imagine a totally trash-free kitchen. Like, it does seem like the future.
And in a world where we have all these kind of weird, innovative things that we don't really need, like the cooktop that's just all glass, but you don't really know if it's on or off or something, or back in the 50s and 60s, the blender that was built into the counter, or the toaster that pulled out of a doghouse, and you don't really need any of that stuff. Didn't age well. This we could use.
Yeah, this is awesome.
And we will use. And I don't know, are they doing a GoFundMe thing or a Kickstarter thing or something?
It's called Recycle It, and the Kickstarter's coming soon.
Oh, okay.
Would you punch a couple of holes in the wall at your house and do this?
My house, and not all houses are candidates.
Oh,
for this.
yours isn't a candidate because your kitchen's in the middle.
Kind of up and up the hill and whatever. Gina, of course, a renter, so she obviously is
You're
not
gonna break a wall.
doing that.
Mine's actually perfect because like you have to go up like one step to get in from the outside. You know what I mean? So it's raised ever so slightly.
You want a little more height, but not too much height. And yes, you would. It's not major surgery. It's kind of a
laparoscopic.
Yeah, like you get into the wall, you got to get in between the bays. Remember the bays you got 14 and a half inches to deal with there because they're 2x4s are 16 on center.
Okay.
So you back out half of each one. Anyway, you got 14 and a half open in a bay, right? This thing doesn't take up more than 10 or 11 inches. So you kind of put it in a bay, in an open bay. You got to get outside and kind of cut out the stucco or the siding or whatever it is. It's a little job.
But worth it.
Totally, right? Like, wouldn't you be down with this?
Absolutely.
No more and by the way,
it's a conversation piece.
Where's your trash can?
Many nicer homes that have... The nicer version of this is just a rack that you pull out from somewhere near the dishwasher that has the grubby trash cans in it. And then also the pull out the bag, always the liner. What about the liner? You got to retuck the new liner. Is the can always gets schmutzy with stuff dripped down. It's sticky at the bottom, and there's a couple coffee grounds down there, and blah, blah, blah. This would be awesome.
This is great.
Send it away.
Yeah. All right. So this is the kind of thing that's the easiest thing in the world, should have existed 50 years ago, quite easily. Just built into every new house.
You're so right, because, I mean, we've talked about this before, but like my grandmother had the laundry chute. You know, we love chutes. Chutes have been around for a long time.
Yes.
Right.
And if you'd like to encourage people to recycle, this is a much more satisfying, easier way to do it than dedicated can.
I wouldn't know because, again, like you said, I'm a renter with no sign of that slowing down because I did a little Zillow research last night. But do people have trash compactors anymore?
No.
That is a sign of the times. If you have one, your kitchen was remodeled in 1992.
I see. I didn't know if that was still like a thing.
Adam, you can verify that, but that's what I've come to know.
Yes, even earlier, but that was a big deal. The trash compactor, which I don't think anyone ever probably caused more harm than good. People lost fingers or something. Like
animals.
That was another one of those. Welcome to the future.
Right.
We can take a foot and a half of cubic trash and make it into 1 foot of cubic trash, which I don't think anyone really had a problem with. But okay.
My grandparents used to delight in throwing bottles in there and making them crack.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. That was entertainment in like 1987. That was like their big move. And now Christy's parents have one, but they only use it for actual trash. That's how it become full circle now. It doesn't compact anything.
I was
it's just a trash bin.
Speaking of delight and entertainment, yes, using the trash compactor to crack an old Coors bottle. Delightful. I was trying to explain to Sonny last night the concept of scratch and sniff.
You had to explain that to him?
Yes.
Right, it's right there in the name.
The notion that this was this had entertainment value.
It was a delightful assault on all senses.
So we're sitting eating dinner, and he looks at the table.
It kind of smells like a grape.
he goes, what is this? Like something was spilled on the table. And then Olga was like, that's milk. And then he was like, I don't know if it's milk. And she's like, that's milk. And then of course, the stupid, senseless, well, who spilled it? I don't drink
Here we
milk.
go.
Nobody drinks milk. And it's like, so we had to get to the bottom of whose milk it was. But at some point, Olga said, scratch it. Scratch it off. He was like scratching at it with a bottle cap or something. And then he said, I don't think it's milk. And then Olga said, sniff it. And if I was close enough to him, I would hit the back of his head when he went down,
Sure.
And he started sniffing. She's like, that's it. And then I said, scratch and sniff. And then he said, what are you talking about?
Oh, my God.
And I said, then Olga said, oh, yeah, like they used to have perfume that way. You'd scratch it and you'd like rub it on your neck. And I said, no, we had like trading cards.
Yeah, like sticker books.
It's a form of
Yeah.
entertainment.
Yeah.
And Sonny's just like, what would be entertaining about scratching something and then sniffing it? I was like, that's all we had.
Smell the picture.
We had that and Brian's grandparents with the
Crushing bottles,
crushing
yeah.
bottles. That's all we had. Scratch and sniff, Max Zapata. And I said, go pull it up. It's like, this didn't exist.
I still have them at my mom's house.
It existed. I'm not, even at the time, I wasn't swayed. I didn't go all in on the pet rock either. I was like, I don't get why this passes as entertainment.
I can't speak for boys, but little girls, we loved scratch and sniff stickers. In fact, I can prove it because how weird this is. Of course, everyone liked the strawberry one. You know which one I found kind of enjoyable? The skunk. I like the skunk one.
I didn't even remember they had that
Yeah,
one.
they
Is
did.
that like when they did, the bad jelly beans?
Right.
What were the jelly beans? They had like the vomit flavor.
But these were,
whatever it was.
these were like at least for us, they were like picture books
Jelly
and like
bellies.
you like little Gina because of course
That's
everyone with my
low
name on it.
self-esteem, though, Gina. You liking the skunk one.
That's probably true. I do like gasoline too, though.
They didn't have like a Civil War gangrene had set in on the wound. When the doctor has to sniff it and go, you got to cut his leg off.
Before it
I
spreads.
take what I can get. Slim pickets in the grad house.
Do you guys, Dawson, you must remember the scratch
Oh,
and
another
sniff.
crazy night in the Lorenzini house.
Yeah, didn't they even have like scratch and sniff books?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I had.
Oh, yeah. These
remember
were
those
like
books.
stickers, I think.
Yeah,
there
were
were
both.
stickers as well. I remember it all.
Yeah. You could apply the stickers in the book. Like, here's where the popcorn
Yes.
is or whatever the fuck
Why
it
was this entertaining? Anyway,
It was the future.
you got to have young kids. You try to explain to them stuff like, oh, yeah, big thing. And he's like, why was it anything? I'm like, because we didn't have other things.
Tell him to take out his iPad and pull up a picture of a skunk and see if he can smell it. And the answer's
That's
going to be
right.
no.
Or better yet, give me your iPad. I'll put it away for 24
Right.
hours. Then we'll see how interested you are in
You'll be
scratch and
sniffing Phil's ass before the day is through. All right, Shin is from Baltimore. Shin wants to pull some balls for me when I'm out there coming up this weekend. Shin?
Hey, how's it going, Adam? This is Sensational One Shinblade, living in Baltimore, Maryland. How you guys doing, Gina, Balt, Brian? Haven't talked to Gina in a couple of days. How you doing?
Oh, good. How are you, sir?
Good, Sensational. What? Let's see. I'm reading here. You're a fan of pro wrestling.
Yes, I'm a fan of professional wrestling. I'm a podcaster also. I travel around the United States watching indie shows and interviewing a lot of indie wrestlers, former WWE wrestlers, as well as Hall of Famers. And even I had one Grammy Award winning artist on my podcast. Just a small town guy. Just love to interview people, including yourself. But we met actually 6 years ago.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of us back in the shop. I do remember when you came by. I want to know, all right, Sadder Tableau. Famous porn star. Yeah, you tell me what's sadder. Famous, I'll put it to Gene and Brian.
Here we go.
Famous porn star, 25 years past the prime, still making the rounds. Or the pro wrestler who was at WrestleMania in 1993, now showing up at the local, at the VA, not the VA, at the Armory or whatever, with the folding tables and a folding chair. Anytime there's folding chairs in a room that wasn't built for wrestling, still hanging on.
When you say porn star making the rounds, is she working or is she signing DVDs?
With both. A little bit of work, some DVDs. Conventions.
I have an answer for you.
Strip clubs, maybe.
Oh,
She worked her way in the MILF category.
I was going to say this changed for me because I was going to say, well, of course, nothing sadder than the wrestler who was at the height of his powers, like the rock star, the champion. But like you've said before, if you want to know exactly how the world looks at you, go into porn and look at the category you've been put in.
That's right.
She doesn't want to see that.
It's true.
Right. Shin,
Great gills.
Shin, you're going to local, right? Independent things, you're saying?
I do local here in Maryland, but I also travel like mostly New York, New Jersey. I've been to Chicago a few times. There was a wrestling show in California when I was out there years ago. It's called Pro Wrestling Gorilla in California, but the shows were so sold out that me and my partner at the time, we couldn't attend those shows. So I travel. I'm a one-man podcasting type machine, and I interview wrestlers all over. Even I tried to shoot my shot at Gina and her DMs about an interview whenever I come back to California.
Oh,
and also
okay.
Yeah, and also Balt Bryan, since he knows a bit about wrestling.
I was going to say, if
I
we're
know
talking,
more, but
talking
yeah.
about the sweet spot,
I mean,
we'll go on about Ricky the Dragon Steamboat all day.
I mean, it's cute what Brian does.
Shin,
It is.
are the local gigs uplifting? Are they sad? Do you see any big names formally from pro wrestling that have trickled their way down to the local circuit?
Oh, absolutely. There's guys that, like you said, they were in the big time WrestleMania or in the NWA or WCW at the time and made in big money. Now it's like they're just like working VFW halls and trying to get $1 out of you like they're Virgil or somebody else.
Virgil.
Just basically anything. Yeah.
Virgil was the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase's manservant.
That's right.
That's how he was billed.
As Tony Soprano would say, this all sounds very gay.
Yeah, he was Virgil was black and his manservant,
wow.
right? Yeah.
Well, also, I'll tell you a good story. Number one, Balt Bryan, do yourself a favor and type in lonelyvirgil.net on the internet.
Oh, I'm familiar.
And you'll just be, yeah.
It's a Virgil just sad at these conventions, sitting on a folding chair.
He's pulling up everywhere. He
great.
Pulls up to your mechanic and just puts out a folding table with a cloth that says $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and Virgil. Like Ted DiBiase is going to show up.
He's big time.
But also I met him in Jersey at a Pro Wrestling Syndicate show, and I remember he was on Sam Roberts' show, and some kind of revitalization with his character. And at the time, I was working in wrestling radio, and I said, well, Virgil, we want to have you on the show and talk to you about fuck money and all that. And next you know, he turns around, he says, I charge you $15,000 to do an interview, and I just plain walked away.
Whoa.
I said, fuck that guy.
That's great.
Delusional.
Virgil wore like a long duster or something sleeveless.
Yeah, a sleeveless tuxedo. A pink
that's
lapels.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Manservant.
Yeah. All right, Shin, you want to come up on stage and not talk about wrestling at all?
No, that's fine. I'm just thankful for the opportunity and to meet you again. And plus, I had told Laxamana via email that you were partially the reason that inspired my podcast, and I do my rants also. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity, and I can't wait to see you guys see you and the others on Friday night.
Thanks, Shin. We'll see you on Friday night. I think
Let's go off the top rope.
Yeah, early show sold out. I don't know where we're at with the late show. Max Zapata can talk to August about it, but I do know that early show is sold out. All right, let's see. There's another call or two up there, but I can't see it because of how the screen is formatted. Let's see. Oh, Mike, Virginia has some. Mike 40, Virginia's got some fake football player names.
Mijo. Yeah, got some names for you. Okay, they're like Adam category or they're COVID category, so a couple different categories.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right. Which one do you want first, COVID or Adam?
Oh, we'll do Adam, then we'll do COVID.
Okay, for Adam, we got a defensive lineman out of LSU, Demand Show Bits.
Oh,
nice.
Then we got a speedy DB out of Miami, Unbreakable Combs.
Now, so far, we love Glendora Bevmo.
that's the one to beat. Yep.
I don't know why I made everyone laugh, but maybe it's a regional thing. All right, sorry, keep going.
How about a white QB, BYU, Newman Cars?
Oh.
Yeah, that could work.
There you go.
Then this one goes I think it's a shout out to Bald when T.I. was on a couple years ago. He said the phrase longevitous boom. And I think Bald was like, that guy sounds like a DB for Seattle Seahawks.
Longevitous boom.
Right,
Yeah.
Longevitous boom always stuck with me. And then, of course, the strong safety. Doesn't matter where he went to college. Durable goods.
Wait, do we? No, we didn't have a durable
No.
goods. We had a version of that. God, I'm trying to think of what that is. All right, that's good.
I like demand show bits.
Yeah, I think durable
Well played,
good. I think what you got to do is do like a D apostrophe and
Rebel.
give them
Yeah.
rebel or something. Yeah, some version, not be so on the nose. But okay,
We like it.
let's do
Yeah.
let's do a COVID version of it.
We got Devax card.
It's good.
Then we got, this one's a Latin kicker, Latin place kicker. Ivor with a Y, Mectine. Ivor Mectine. He
Ivor
might be like a
Mectine.
Latin place kicker.
From Argentina.
Yeah.
And then we got a Polish linebacker from Penn State, Vox Proof.
Wow.
Proof. Run stopper. All right, thanks, Mike. I'm growing weary, but this is good.
I got about 19 more if you're ready
Okay.
for them.
All right, well, put them in alphabetical order, and we'll do it on the next round because now Paxton from Seattle has a rich man, poor man for us. Oh, woke man, broke man.
Ooh.
Oh, this is interesting. So it's an update on rich man, poor man. It's woke man, broke man. Go ahead, Paxton.
Hey, Mr. Carolla, always a pleasure.
Yeah, what's going on?
I came up with a new idea for rich man, poor man. It's woke man, broke man. It's the same concept, but with people on the far left and the far right.
All right.
So, for example, you got like thinking white people are superior. It's either white privilege or white supremacy.
Mm-hmm. Right. Good.
Not calling the police. So you either want to abolish the police or you have one of those signs up that say, we don't call the police here. We shoot first, no questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Not liking Jewish people, or not liking Jewish people having power. You're either pro-Palestine or you think they run the banks.
Mm-hmm. All right, one more woke man, broke man.
Relying on solar power or thinking solar power is the best. You either think it's going to save the world or you're living off the grid and it's the only way you get power.
Yeah, you're going full Motor City Madman.
Thanks, Paxton. These are interesting. They don't really have the punch that the rich man, poor man has, but it's good. We're getting some breaking news from a CBS reporter, sports reporter in Vegas, Ron Futrell, who's got some breaking news about Raiders Henry Ruggs. I didn't hear about this. Killed someone in a DUI accident. Ron, CBS Sports
Hey
reporter.
there, Adam.
Hey.
In a bald. How?
Hey.
Good.
Hey.
What happened?
This morning about 3:30 in the morning. So when I say this morning, I'm talking Tuesday morning.
Right.
Henry Ruggs, this is what the police report says, was driving near Spring Mountain and Rainbow, about 5 miles west of the Strip, near the Chinatown area, actually, here in Vegas. And driving his Corvette, and he's got a Corvette. I don't know. I couldn't tell from the car because it was pretty bashed up, his car. But he'd done some aftermarket stuff to it, of course, with his Corvette. But anyway, rear-ended a lady in a RAV4 and killed her. Her car caught on fire. And so and then cops at the scene are saying that he showed signs of impairment and that he's going to be charged with fatal DUI.
And he had someone in his car,
22
right?
22 years old.
Didn't he have like a girl in his car that went to the hospital?
Yes, probably his girlfriend. I mean, he's got a girlfriend that he's been around town with, so people have seen her. So I'm guessing it was her. So yes, he had. And there's also, we're trying to figure this out right now. Also, word that he injured his hip in the crash. But the Raiders are in Vegas now, I guess, and he was the number one draft pick.
Really?
And he was the first rounder. And he was the first draft pick for the Las Vegas Raiders.
I say,
also,
yes, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I say,
okay, well,
how are we going to do this?
You go.
All right. I say even if he's convicted of vehicular manslaughter, he will be back in the league before Gruden gets back in the league for his emails from 10 years ago. That's the new world order. Yeah. Now your turn, Ron.
Okay, I would say you're probably right on that one, but okay, no. What he had, the irony here is when he was in high school in Montgomery, Alabama, 17 years old, and a friend of his, Rodney Scott, got killed in a car crash, single car rollover, when he was going to a basketball tournament, and Ruggs was supposed to be in the car with him. And in fact, Ruggs was going to drive the car, didn't take the trick because he got the flu, so he stayed home from the basketball tournament because Ruggs was a basketball player before he was a football player. Great basketball player there in Alabama. Anyway, so he had always, after he scored a touchdown, he'd throw up the three fingers for his son, his friend Rodney Scott,
right,
who'd gotten killed in a car crash in Alabama. So that was sort of his inspiration. And now this happens in Vegas.
It's
sort
sad.
of nuts.
I mean, you got young people. The first thing they do when they hammer that check, that bonus checks, they go out and they get themselves a super fast car that they just can't handle. And then you're in Vegas. And we also need to, I realize, and I'll put this for the listeners, you guys can tweet me or maybe you guys will come up with something. We need a new definition of mourning because I was watching a press conference with Jen Psaki the other day, and some guy from Fox was like grilling her on these flights that were leaving Texas and other border places and flying. They had these kind of secret nighttime flights with all these illegals who come over, and they were just flying them into the interior of the country. And he's like, what's up with these middle of the night flights? And she's like, middle of the night? It was early morning. Those are morning time flights. He's like, well, 3 a.m. And she's going, no, that's morning time.
5 a.m. That's morning.
We need a cutoff because I agree with him. That's the middle of the night.
Yeah.
3 a.m. is the middle of the night. That's not. I don't call that a morning flight.
Yeah.
No.
If the first morning show starts at 5 a.m., it's 5 a.m.
Yes, because you go, this guy was drunk. Well, it happened in the morning. He was in yesterday morning. He's driving around drunk. It's like, what did he do? He went down to the facility, worked out.
Went to Denny's.
Then he took a jacuzzi. Then he had a few. Like, morning. Then as soon as you hear 3 a.m., you go,
that morning.
That morning. Yes, they need the time. Can't be midnight. No party ends at midnight. So everyone gets their DUIs and their accidents and their vehicular manslaughters after. It's technically in the morning. I agree with Gina. Let's call it 5 a.m.
5 a.m.
Shouldn't it be when the sun comes up? I mean, obviously that's regional.
Well, the problem is that floats around a little bit. I say cut off. I could go as early as 6 a.m., but or as late as 6 a.m., but 5 a.m. sounds good. You do something at 3:45
middle of the night
a.m. That's still the night.
Yep.
Okay. Well, this is sad and tragic.
It was dark on the roadways, and so that was the issue. By the way, SEMA, I went over to SEMA today, the convention center. It's looking good. They're cranking that thing up already and got a lot of the equipment's there waiting.
Well, good for, I feel like there's a lot of pathos in this story for car lovers, but also there's SEMA as well, which everyone loves. Yeah, SEMA's going on right now. So Ron, what do you think? So he obviously was impaired. There's vehicular, somebody died. Yeah. It's so random, it's like if you hurt, I don't know who the victim was, but
we don't know either.
You hit the person and you kill the person, then you're ruined. That's it. You hit the person and you injure the person severely, but they don't die, then your life isn't completely destroyed because this is prison time.
Well, Ron, isn't it, he's looking at 20 years?
You could get 2 years as minimum, 20 years maximum. And in this case, he has a great attorney in town. David Chesnoff is his attorney, and I've known David for 30 years here in town. And so I called David in the morning because I knew right away, Ruggs accident, Chesnoff would know who's involved. He's the guy who got Britney Spears out of when she got married for 24 hours.
Oh, the annulment.
It was Chesnoff. You remember that story happened here in Vegas. That's right. And it was Chesnoff that got her out of that marriage. So anyway, he's the fix-it guy. But I don't know if David can fix this one. This one's going to be tough. But you're right, Gina. 2 to 20 years, minimum 2 years,
and
max 20 years.
We've talked about this on the show before, Adam, that you don't think...
Thanks, Ron. Appreciate the update.
Thank you.
By the way. Yes.
You don't think it should... when people say, well, you better hope this person doesn't die, or you're looking at life, like you remember we talked about that, like whether they die or whether they live dictates what happens to you. And I know we've had these conversations.
I'd like it. Yeah. Well, there's a couple thoughts. One is, if you, it's adjunct to that, but it's a close cousin of that thought, which is, if somebody rear ends you and there's no damage to the car, but you just have a really bad spine and you go, well, there's no damage, but my neck's still really fucked up, that's kind of on you because your neck's really fucked up. Now this is a little different. Mine is a little more like, the guy pumped 9 rounds into the guy out front of his apartment, but miraculously the person lived. It's like, well, we can't get murder. It's like, hey,
it's the opposite.
You emptied a clip into this person, and for some unknown reason, the bullet missed all the major organs in his body. You, my friend, are still a murderer.
Yeah.
That's. I have sort of the opposite of this. All right, let me hit Simply Safe here. Want your home to feel safer? There's no better time than now. This week, our friends at Simply Safe are giving my listeners 40% off their award-winning home security. Simply Safe has everything you need. Indoor and outdoor cameras, comprehensive sensors, all monitored around the clock by trained professionals who send help the instant you need it. Named the best home security system of 2021 by U.S. News and World Report. Easy to customize the system for your home. You can do it online in minutes, and you can get free custom recommendations as well. There are Simply Safe's biggest discount of the year. These are it. This is the biggest one you're going to find all calendar year. Get a complete home security system starting at just over $100 with no long-term contracts or commitments. Offer ends soon. Take 40% off at simplysafe.com/Adam today. That is simplysafe.com/Adam today. All right, quick break. We'll come back and we'll do the Rotten Tomatoes game right after this.
Trading in our jack-o'-lanterns for Christmas lights.
Mm-hmm.
But before we transform our haunted houses to holiday displays, let's take one last look at some movies that feature terrifying transformations.
I like your road manager for Craftwork better, but go ahead.
Thank you. Our first movie tells a cautionary tale of a teleportation experiment gone horribly wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Goldblum stars as a scientist slowly turning into the small insect that interrupted his incredible breakthrough. It's co-starring Gina Davis, directed by gore master David Cronenberg from 1986, The Fly.
I was so hoping this was going to be Inner Space.
People like this movie.
I like this movie quite a bit.
It's a good movie. And it's a remake, isn't it a remake?
There was a schlocky 1960s version, or maybe even late 50s.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. All right. So this was good. People liked it at the time. They like it now. It doesn't seem to make the rounds like a lot of sort of these types of horror type movies do.
It's
but
a gross that movie too. There's some gross shit in here.
Yeah,
right.
The skin does some awful things.
Yes. I think people liked it. It's hard to get the critics to love a movie like this.
True.
But it's Jeff Goldblum who's kind of like the nerdy zaddy.
Mm-hmm.
I think people have called Brian that too.
That's right.
Hold on. Okay.
All right. I'm in at 83.
Ooh.
A little higher at 89.
I think I might have gone low, 79.
The Fly is certified fresh at 93%.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie.
The audience has it at 83.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's pretty gross. I can see it turn a lot of people off.
Beware the full moon. We've been getting the werewolf warning since before Lon Chaney first donned the fur back in 1941. Hollywood has tried to remake this universal classic many times over the years. The most recent attempt being about a decade ago in a big-budget film that starred Benicio del Toro, Anthony Hopkins, Emily Blunt, and Hugo Weaving. From 2010, The Wolfman.
Anybody see this?
No.
No, literally no one.
I think we all kind of went, I'm listening, and then we heard some of the early reviews and things and went, nah.
We're good.
We're good. Well, now let's see. Can't be good.
Good cast.
It's got a very good cast. Very good cast. And for that alone, and with, technology, you can have him transform, looks realistic. You'd think there'd be something, but...
Was this nominated for an Oscar for like makeup or something? I remember this is one of the worst. I'm going with memory, but...
I don't know. It's tough with this cast to go too low, but I don't think people liked it, and for that, I go 39.
37.
I went way too high. I thought, you can't do that to this cast. I said 59.
The Wolfman is rotten.
Oh, yeah.
At 34%.
Shit.
The people at 33. So
They're right there.
They're right there.
Our next film holds a very special place in Adam's crotch. About a sexy alien human hybrid
Now we're talking.
on a violent quest for a suitable male to impregnate her. Over the course of the film, the gorgeous Natasha Henstridge becomes the terrifying monster within, co-starring acting powerhouses, the very scary Ben Kingsley, Alfred Molina, Forrest Whitaker, and Michael Madsen from 1995, Species.
What a cast.
Never saw it.
Oh,
It
come
really
on.
is. She's like a hot alien trying to get laid. And
Yeah.
it's scary.
I think she's trying to get impregnated.
Okay.
I think her spawn will bring about the end of the world or something.
Okay.
What year was this? 95, did you say?
95.
Yeah, I remember a friend of mine worked on this
Prime
film.
time. 17-year-old Brian.
Yeah, she is hot.
My God, what a specimen.
God. I want to watch that video again. Do we have that video again that she sent me?
Hi, Adam.
Oh, yeah. Let me just close my eyes, Gina. Go ahead.
Hi, Adam. It's Tosh. Just wanted to say, hey, I've heard a lot about you, and I have to admit, I've always had a crush on you. So, I don't know.
yeah.
Call me. We'll hang out.
Yeah. I will find it.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting movie. Pretty good movie. Oh, let's hear Natasha Henstridge.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh,
Today's the day.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Adam, sexiest man alive. Happy 57th birthday. Happy birthday to you. That's my Marilyn Monroe impression. That's my version of Marilyn Monroe singing to JFK, who is only half as smart, was only half as smart, half as sexy, and definitely not as funny as you are. So your mijo, Robert, wanted to send you this video as a thank you for making all the people laugh during this quarantine. And I separately want to send you a happy birthday just because I think you're fabulous. And I always had the biggest crush on you. And yeah, you're pretty awesome. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're having a good year. And
I am now.
I think I missed you recently. I think we were supposed to do something together recently.
Yeah, you are.
We're going to have to make it happen sometime. Happy birthday, Adam. Happy birthday. And also, you're welcome, Bald Brian.
Yeah, seriously.
Not sure if I'm missing something there with that or
you're
not.
She's not familiar with you.
It's been a long day for me, so. Mwah, sending you a big kiss. Hope you're really well.
That's from me.
And had a
She's
great
far
day.
exceeded the expectations of the cameo.
Yeah, that went on far longer than it needed
Yeah.
to.
And I even slowed it down a little more in my mind.
Yeah.
I know she's Canadian, so I'll let the JFK shit slide this time.
She also pronounced mijo correctly for Canadians.
Yeah.
That can be a little tough. All right, so she's beautiful. This movie is, it's like it's fun. It's interesting. It's kind of sexy.
Yeah, but you guys are, you don't know. Your heart's too much in it.
It's hard to tell what the it's well executed. It has an interesting premise and everything, but I don't think the critics were kind to it. So I'm gonna go 43.
Lower at 31. This is schlock.
Then I was kind, 47.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a 5-point deduction. Species is rotten at 43%.
Oh, so that worked my Natasha mojo.
Damn it.
That's pure Natasha Henstridge mojo.
She sprinkled that on you.
The people have it at 31. It's weird to see these kind of movies usually 43 at the critics and 77 with the people.
I nailed the people score.
Oh man, this game just got snug.
Just heat it up.
Up next, a young boy is close to drowning when a mysterious creature from the deep saves him. 20 years later, the man is briefly reunited with this mythical being and then finds himself relentlessly pursued. Okay, so maybe not all transformation movies need to be terrifying. We're talking about the Charming Mermaid rom-com starring Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah from 1984, Splash.
I was so confused. I love this movie, but of course I was watching it when I was 3.
Yeah.
And Eugene Levy, a bad guy, real bad guy.
Thick eyebrows.
Yep.
Yeah, great John Candy.
Yep.
Lots of fun. Romantic. Everyone liked this movie. I don't remember anyone who like poo-pooed this movie.
Oh yeah, Brian Grazer.
It was pretty, seems like just universally loved.
And at the time, the sort of iconic scene where she gets in the bath and you see her mermaid tail unfold, that was like a big deal.
Yeah. Brian, thoughts?
This is an early, I think this might have been Ron Howard's first hit. No, maybe not his first move. This is before Cocoon. Almost positive. Anyway, so this is enjoyable. I remember seeing it last time I saw it was 20 years ago.
She eats the lobster.
Now, it's a good movie, very likable movie, but can be considered a little lightweight for some of the critics, maybe.
You know what's funny? With so many movies now being Broadway shows, like all of them, I'm actually surprised they never did anything with this. Now, I understand there's a water element, but that can be worked around. This would be a good musical.
All right. Well, I went in on 79.
Hold on.
Sorry.
I had the same score, so there
I
we
didn't.
go.
79.
68.
Splash is certified fresh
Shit.
at 91%.
Good. Weird, but good.
The audience has it at 58.
This is so weird.
surprised.
I was thinking of going higher, but I was like, it's a little lightweight or whatever. But
this is shocking.
In the 90s with the critics, but in the 50s with the audience, you would never expected that one.
Like a movie like this, kind of crowd pleasing.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right, I'm happy to be in third with this one.
All right, finally.
Me too.
Brian, calm down. Of course, we're going to talk about the legendary battle fought between Autobots and Decepticons.
Transformation!
Robots with the ability to, you guessed it, transform into different mechanical objects. Michael Bay directs the explosive action catapulting Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox into superstardom. From 2007, Transformers.
101.
First one, strong movie, popped up on cable a week or so ago. I watched it just till they got to the part where they popped the hood and they had the cross ram injection with the Holly 4-barrel high rise double pumper. But
Uh-oh.
But
funny I've had that ready.
Yeah, but forgot, funny movie, like, you got that whole oh God, what's his name at
Turturro?
the used car lot?
Oh, Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac's being funny.
People ask me all the time, do you really like the Transformers movies? And listen, the sequels are of varying quality from bad to awful. But I will stand by this first one as everything it should have been. This is not a great movie, but this hits all the notes. This is exactly, for a fucking movie about giant intergalactic transforming robots, this is a good movie.
Had a lot of comedy in it.
And Brian,
Absolutely.
am I not mistaken in they reenact part of this in Honey Boy? Remember when he's like...
when he's being, pulled off.
That's
strings.
this movie, right?
It's one of the many Transformers films.
Okay.
The the relationship with Shia LaBeouf and his parents were funny.
Yep.
The little dog, it's kind of the home life stuff was funny.
Turturro was funny.
It was like
over the top.
Had a lot of humor in this film for a big time action film.
Okay.
All right, now this is tough because the critics are snobs and they remember it's based on a cartoon, and had action figures and everything from the 80s. So they're going to be a little tough, but this is a good one. Brian and I are pretty knotted up here.
You got a little lead.
Brian's got a think about his head and not so much his heart on this one.
Boner.
On the other hand, this is a good solid 83.
What it is what it should have been. The best version of what it could be.
But critics are dicks. You know what I mean? And this doesn't have any woke. There's no woke points here. There's no lesbian lead or anything. It's just all white cast, essentially. So you got to deduct a few. But are they going to be pure assholes and go like 57% or something? Because they can get douchey with movies like this. I have to be a little conservative, got a little lead, trying to protect it, but I don't know. I don't know how, because I only have a few points here. So everyone locked in?
Yep.
I'm going to go 74.
I'm going to say this is unfairly low, just fairly fresh at 61.
I also said 61, but I'm pretty much off the podium.
Transformers is rotten.
Oh!
Adam earlier said 57. It's rotten at 58.
Oh.
People loved it.
That was a good swing right there.
People at 85. God damn it.
What a fun
58.
movie.
Why? What's wrong with critics, Brian? Why? It's Transformers, a movie we cannot give it a good review.
Yeah, it's that. It opens with, produced by Hasbro. It's going to, people are going to write it off. And Michael Bay, also written off as a lightweight director. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he's every bit as talented as any, director working on. This is underrated.
Oh man. I enjoyed this film a lot. I cannot figure out how it didn't at least get to fresh. It's not even a fresh film. And if you sat down, took an audience, filled the theater, showed this movie, and then at the end went, not fresh.
Yeah, sucks.
It's unthinkable.
It's fun. It's what it should have been. It's again the best version of what it could be.
All right.
So if we were loosely following the math there, it is pretty simple to see that Gina Grad is on the podium. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Adam Carolla coming in with a score of a 38.
Ooh.
That's a good score.
Not bad. Better not. My original thought was I was going with 70, and I upped it to 74. So if I get in between, I'm going to be angry.
But there is a twist. The win.
Gina.
With a score of 69.
That would be a twist.
Gina Grad, 69. Just because you got 69.
Thank you.
Technically, Bald Brian won for 34.
Oh, no, there it is.
There's your 4.
There's my 4!
You cursed it at the beginning.
I did.
It was your Henstridge hubris.
I was riding high.
Honestly, I felt, not that it really made me play any better, but when you said that, I was like, fuck this guy. I'm going to really try this time.
He did get mad.
I got a little
I could see it in your eye.
I was going to go 70, and I was like, 70's not a score, and it can't be 70. It's got to be, figure this one out. God damn it. Damn you. All right, let's see. Let me talk about Lucy Slim nicotine pouch. We're all adults here. Some of us use nicotine on occasion to relax, focus, unwind after a long day. Lucy Nicotine, created to help nicotine users find a cleaner option and something they feel safe about. And for those who consume nicotine. Slim nicotine pouches contain pure synthetic with the same satisfaction nicotine users expect without any tobacco. 3 strengths, 4, 8, and 12 milligrams in 3 exclusive delicious flavors, spearmint, mango, and cool cider. Kaylin, you in there?
Yeah. They actually they sent over some of the mango flavored pouches last week, and as a nicotine user, I figured I'd give it a try, and they're actually really good. And they're easy to use. You don't need to spit, and I'm already going through all of them already.
Lucy Slim nicotine pouch, right, Dawson?
It's 2021. Don't compromise when you're choosing your nicotine products. Go to the newest tobacco-free options from Lucy. Adam Carolla Show listeners, go to lucy.co and use promo code Adam to get 20% off your order of Lucy Slim pouches or any other Lucy products. That's lucy.co and use promo code Adam at checkout. Warning, this product contains non-tobacco nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Lucy.co and be sure to use promo code Adam.
We'll take a break. Vincent Pastore and Federico Castelluccio. There we go. Castelluccio. They're going to join us right after this.
And now, Alcoa presents Definitely Not a Jew on the Adam Carolla Show. Dateline, Glastonbury, Connecticut. An 18-year-old man was charged with 2 counts of third-degree computer crime after changing 2 yearbook quotes in the school's database. One quote referenced drugs and the Boston Marathon bomber, and the other was a quote from Adolf Hitler. Definitely not a Jew!
Federico Castelluccio has joined us. You know him best from The Sopranos. Vincent Pastore is having some issues with some power outages where he's from, but hopefully we'll get him on the phone very soon. The movie they just wrapped together is called Don Q, but it's not coming out for a little, so we can just chat. Good to see you, Federico.
Good to see you too, Adam.
I'm Italian as well, except for my first name is Adam, so it's no good. If I was Federico Carolla, nobody would have any questions, right?
Well, I mean, look, there is Adamo ed Eve, right? Adam and Eve, Adamo. So it's, you could play around with that. It could be Italian.
Let's talk about your art, because I am so impressed. And we're talking at the beginning of the show, and we're looking at some of your art is amazing. Anyone who listens to me knows that I don't really care for modern art. It's sort of like I don't care for DJs or electronic music or DJ Khaled. I believe they're talentless. But when I see your stuff or the Dutch Masters or something like that, I go, wow, that is impressive. But I like the idea that you made a painting, a portrait of George Burns, famous comedian from when you were 17, and got it to him somehow. How does that story go?
Well, I was in high school at the time, and I was working at the Patterson News. I was doing pen and ink illustrations, and one day, this reporter comes in and says she's going to be interviewing George Burns, because he had done, I think at the time was Two of a Kind, a film that was called Two of a Kind.
Yes.
He had already won the Oscar for Oh God and everything. And, I grew up watching this guy. It was like, it's always a great feeling. And, when you see these comedians, Gracie and Alan, and so I just turned around. I was like a 17-year-old kid. I was in the corner just doing these drawings. And I turned around and I said to the reporter, I go, hey, wouldn't it be a great idea if a young artist did a portrait of George Burns, and then we presented it to him from the news organization? And she looked at me and she's like, who are you? Who is this kid? And so she just turned around and left. And I'm like, well, I guess that was a bad idea. But she probably thought about it and came back about 2 or 3 hours later and said, I made a couple of phone calls, and you have 1 week to do that painting. We're going to be presenting it to George Burns. I'm like, what? And it just blew me away. Around that time, I had won a scholarship from high school to the School of Visual Arts for painting and media arts. And so, I bought a book, read his biography overnight, and just got to work and created the painting, got it framed, and we had it that next Saturday. It was presented to him at the Plaza Hotel in New York City. And it was from that point, when he came over, when he walked over to the painting, I was looking at the painting and looking at him, because I was working from photographs, and it was sort of like a montage of him and his life when he won the Oscar, when he was, in vaudeville, and then on the bottom when he was with Gracie with Gracie, and so Gracie Allen, that is, right. And so he had these friends of his from vaudeville that were his entourage that were coming in to the place with him. And they looked at the painting. I was looking at him. I was like, oh my God, I got his likeness down. I was so happy that happened. And they were just blown away by this painting. And I remember George giving me one of his cigars. I didn't smoke cigars at the time. But he said to Frank Goodman, who he sort of arranged that entire that evening. And he said, "Hey, Frank, just let's do something for the kid." And so Frank did do something for the kid. He actually helped me start my career in the illustration world. And so I was illustrating professionally right before I even got into college.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting as you think back on careers, and everyone has a story of kind of getting their foot in the door. They call it a big break, but it's not so much a big break. It's you doing something.
Right.
It's not somebody else doing something.
Somebody else noticing.
Somebody else does something after you do something. And, I got my big break, quote unquote, when I met Jimmy Kimmel at the radio station. But I wasn't a very motivated guy. But all of a sudden, this became important to me for unknown reasons. I was like, I got to get in there. I've got to get in. And I was able to walk away from almost anything. I had no follow through, but this thing struck me. It's like, I got to figure this one out. Now, it didn't have any rhyme or reason at the time. Jimmy wasn't a big star at the radio station. You couldn't logically have figured it out, but it hit me and it was important. And so you got to wonder sort of cosmically, somebody coming in and talking about George Burns doesn't normally strike 17-year-olds. Like, what? No.
Muse.
Yeah. Like
my contemporary.
But something was kind of triggered in you, and it did lead to a bunch of really good stuff. But you kind of wonder, sort of, from a vibration standpoint, what was it? Like, why is that? You probably heard a bunch of people come in and mention a whole bunch of other people and stuff like that. Why do you think that touched something in you?
I think because, growing up in Paterson, New Jersey, there weren't many avenues. I grew up in the inner city. So I used to just kind of lose myself in films and comedies and things like that. Lou Costello was one of my biggest inspirations, because he actually came from Paterson. And every once in a while in a film, you would see him do an aside. He goes, "I should have never left Paterson."
Right.
So, it always gave me that idea, that put something in my mind and in my, it told me something that, a guy from Paterson can actually do something great and move someone. And, so, yeah, I mean, George Burns was the same kind of thing for me. His comedy was great. It was like, he had these one-liners that would just just crack up, I mean, the reporter that was there had, she was pretty well endowed, and we were taking pictures, and George Burns looks over at her and she goes, "Those are better than sliced tomatoes." I mean, and you know what I mean? Just like little stupid little things like that, but they crack you up.
So for you, let's talk about The Sopranos and how that came about. Tell us that story.
Sure. I had been knocking around for about 10, 12 years as an actor. I first started getting interested very early on. I mean, it was always in the back of my mind since I was a child. And in my last year at the School of Visual Arts, a friend of mine asked, if I would go and watch him do a monologue. And here's this kid from Brooklyn, and he's doing Biff from The Death of a Salesman. And I'm like, this guy just lost his Brooklyn accent. He was really good too. Anthony Calder, wonderful guy, great artist as well. And, he inspired me that moment. I said, you know what, man, this is like a form of art that I really kind of need to explore. And I just sort of hit the pavement, head first. And I just started finding really great teachers in New York City and studying and just devouring any books that I could get. And, because I didn't have it naturally. I knew I didn't have it naturally. And I just really had to learn what it was about in order to be on stage and to be, that's really what I wanted to do, is stage. And
how did you know you didn't have it naturally? So there's an interesting subject, which is, I felt like early in my career, I felt like, I was really funny, but I had to find it. I had to excavate, dig it out, go spelunking for it.
Take it literally, man. Dig it out. You're digging dishes for 10 years.
I was digging dishes. But I had this, it's in me, but I didn't have it's not in me, but I could put it in me if I trained it into me. But why did you have the feeling that it wasn't in you?
Well, I don't know. It just didn't feel right. When you're on stage and the moments are real and the moments are happening, that the audience is with you and you're with the audience and you're good. You're doing something good. Well, I didn't have that feeling in the beginning. I felt like, I couldn't connect the words of someone else's words with my intentions and my feelings. And it just didn't jive. I said, I really have to get into some classes and understand this because, it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy process for me. Being a visual artist, it's it's a sedentary kind of lonely art. I mean, you're sitting there with your thoughts and your pains. Just you're not verbal. You're just like kind of thinking about everything in your mind. And so this is a more acting is like it starts off kind of lonely. It starts off like you and your thoughts and everything, but then you obviously need a director. You need other people. It's an ensemble kind of effort. So once I started studying and getting into some classes, scene study, I started developing an idea that acting wasn't really acting. It was being. Really kind of feeling the moment and being in the moment. And it took me a while. I had a coach by the name of Donald Buca, who was a silver screen actor. He had done Hamlet on stage in New York City. He was a wonderful guy. I was introduced to him by a casting director who saw something in me. And I studied with him. And I couldn't please this guy for anything. I mean, I just, every time I thought I was doing really great, he was like, no, you really... this part here, you really have to think about this. And I'm like, oh, man. So I finally, one day I had a breakthrough class. And it totally struck me, man. I wasn't, the words didn't really mean anything. It was the intention, and the words came on top of that intention. So that's when I started realizing, man, okay, this is the direction I need to go in. And I was studying with some great teachers. One was Molly McCarthy, who basically was the one who discovered Matt Dillon. Heather Graham was in our class.
Wow.
So a lot of great New York City actors came out of that class at Molly McCarthy.
That is.
And, yeah.
I was going to say it's interesting because when you start off and you're doing stand-up comedy, you're just trying to remember the words. You find yourself like trying to remember the words like a monologue, and you're not really living them. You're so busy trying to remember the words that you're not really doing comedy. Right. You're kind of regurgitating words that are put in an order. And it's at some point you start to discover yourself a little bit, and you start to realize, wait, what is the idea that I want to get across, not the actual order of the words. And what you're saying is kind of what I've experienced as well, which is like you at some point you get so mired in the words. I have to memorize this. I have to memorize this script. I have to memorize these sides. You're not really acting. You're just memorizing, regurgitating. And then at some point you start to understand the words, and then you begin the acting. And I kind of feel like stand-up's that way as well. Yes, Gina Grad.
Well, I think I'm going to preface this very calmly. I'm super chill. This is no big deal. I'm a huge fan. On the 32nd viewing of The Sopranos, it is my home. It is my comfort, everything. It's all good. This is like no big deal. But your character, my husband and I constantly call each other Fiona because we're doing Edie Falco. But you are the king in that show of of the intention being something different than the words that are coming out of your mouth. If it's not with your unbridled love between you and Carmela that cannot be spoken, to your eventual hatred of Tony.
We get it. You love
but
the
that's
show.
what I'm saying. When you talk about the breakthrough you had, that it was all about the intention, you are the epitome of showing that intention on the show. The words that cannot be said. You're having a totally different conversation.
No, I was going to say that there's a lot spoken tacitly. With certain actors are great, and I love watching certain actors like that really speak without really saying a word. And that the words that they gave me were very poignant, and they were very much to the point of what this character was trying to convey. But at the same time, he can't say what he really wants to say, so it's got to be internal, and that. I'm so happy that it came through.
It did, and not only that, me like everybody else is. It's a little jarring to hear you speak English like you're from Paterson, New Jersey, and I think that was difficult for you after the series, right? You kind of had to reintroduce yourself, and you didn't always say things like "stupid a fucking game."
Non lo so che dici tu, ma perché no? No, I'm just kidding. No, it was actually. I had to go. That's the interesting thing. As I said earlier, I was knocking around, doing theater, soap operas, and anything that you could get as an actor in New York City, and 12 years into it, you had to reintroduce yourself. I don't really speak with an Italian accent, which, it sort of kind of set me aside from some of the other characters, and that, you got to kind of get pigeonholed a little bit.
How long had you been knocking around before The Sopranos came calling, or you came, or what was the process for The Sopranos?
I was literally about 12 years, I would say, 12 years. I had done a play, it was a regional production of A View from the Bridge, where I played Marco, a Sicilian coming in with his little brother, Rodolfo. Anyway, I really feel that play really kind of prepared me for Furio, even though Furio was from Naples. Marco was from Sicily, and so my agent called me up. Basically, I called him because the girl I was dating at the time said, there's this thing in the breakdowns called The Sopranos, and I said, I don't sing. She's like, no, really, you got to check this out. And everyone thought it was about singing, Sopranos. So I read the breakdown and I see, wow, they got Gandolfini in there. They've got, Michael Imperioli, who I knew through the theater circuit, and Dominic Canezia. I was like, wow, Nancy Marchand, this must be a really good series. And I watched the pilot. I thought I was just completely blown away by it. And I called my agent and I said, hey, Bob, I said, yeah, I've got to be in this thing, man. I grew up around that life in Paterson, and I know these characters intimately, and it's just something I feel I strongly have something to offer to this series. And he says, well, I submitted you, and we'll see if something comes in. A few days later, I get a call to go and audition for a role, and he sends me to Sides at the time, and I was looking at the scenes, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is a John Gotti type who's the New York boss. And I'm like, I said, Bob, I'm not right for this. I said, I got long hair and 34 years old. It's an older guy. And he goes, well, I want to see you. So I went in, did that audition, got a call back. I didn't hear a thing. And I wasn't surprised. And then I see who they got. And Vince Giuratola, who's a wonderful actor, really seasoned actor. He did that role beautifully. And as the New York boss, Johnny Sack. So it was about maybe 8 months after that, when, after the hiatus and they were starting to audition for the second season, is when he said, I think I have something here you're going to like. And it's slated as Furio, Tony Soprano's cousin from Naples. And I was like, wow. All right. So I read it. You must be able to speak Italian fluently and have to have a believable Italian accent. And that's when I said, that play kind of prepared me for that, because I had to do a very, very convincing Italian accent in that play, A View from the Bridge. And so basically I went in to read for Georgia Ann Walken. She wasn't there that day, but Mary Clay Boland was there. She was working at the office, and she put me on tape, shut the tape off, and said, "Federico, thank you. That was like a breath of fresh air." And I was like, okay, I guess that's a good sign, you know? And so by the time I got home, there was a message from my agent saying that they sent the tape to the studios, Silver Cup Studios, and the producers wanted to read me. And so I called a friend of mine who just got on herself, Aida Turturro. And I said, Aida, hey, the producers like the audition, they want me to, to read for the producers and the director. And she goes, "Oh, Federico, I have to tell you, that's one of the coldest rooms I've ever read for." I'm like, "Really? Thanks for the encouragement there." I'm like, and so basically, I told her, I said, "Listen, I read this part here, and I think that there's something that I need to add in here in Italian." She goes, "Don't do it. It's known in the business that they don't want any ad-libbing or any kind of improvisation, nothing." So I said, "Oh, really?" So all right. So I go to the audition. The audition is going unbelievably well. And I decide to throw that ad-lib in at the end. And, it was in Italian. I figured, it wouldn't be bad, So the ad-lib was, "Sei fortunato che non dà già ammazzato. Puttana." Boom. And I spit on. That was in the brothel scene, at the end there. And so I'm about to leave. They said, "Thank you very much." I'm about to leave, and someone on the couch, which turns out to be David Chase, I didn't know at the time. He said, "Federico, where are you from?" I said, "You mean like where do I live now, or where was I born?" He goes, "Everything." I said, "Well, I was born in Naples, Italy, and I grew up in Paterson, New Jersey." And there's a little grin that came across his face. He doesn't smile too much, David Chase. And then I was about to leave again, and then another person comes over to me, and it was Terry Winter, and he introduced himself as the writer, and I didn't even know that he's the one who created Furio. So I said, he goes, "Federico, hold on a second. He goes, you said something at the end there." He goes, What did you say?" I said, you mean the one in Italian?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Sei fortunato che non dà già ammazzato, puttana." He goes, "But what did you say? What does it mean?" I said, "Oh," I said, you're lucky I didn't kill you, you fucking whore." And so he goes, "Okay. All right, thank you." And he walks away. I'm like, shit. And that moment, Aida's words were like penetrating my head. And I was like, fuck, I completely screwed that up. They're not going to fucking hire me now. And sure enough, like 2 days later, I'm calling my agent. I said, "Hey, what's going on? I know I nailed that audition." He was like, "Well, I didn't hear anything." And so a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, nothing. And I called my agent. I said, "Oh, man," I said, "I don't understand this." He said, "Well, listen," he goes, it's still on the breakdowns. They didn't cast the job. They didn't cast the part." I said, "Okay, well, a couple of days after that, he calls me. He says, they want to read you again. They want you to audition again with James Gandolfini." And I said, "All right, okay, I'll go in again." So I go to the audition. They hand me a script. I said, "New sides." They go, "These are new sides." I said, every actor, doesn't want, believe me, a cold read or a new sides. You're always wondering, oh shit, what's new in here? So I read the whole thing, and everything is the same. Except for the very end. It said, in Italian, "You're lucky I didn't kill you, you fucking whore." I'm like, holy shit, that's my line, man.
Wow.
I'm like, wow. All right, so I go in, I do the audition, and it goes just like it did before. It went really well. I read with Jim. And then a PA comes over and says, "Federico, would you mind reading this?" And it's a cold reading now. And I'm like, okay. And it said, Naples, Italy on the top, the heading. And a lot of it had to be translated in Italian. So they gave me, I said, "I have a few minutes, take your time." I went outside, gave me about 5-10 minutes. came back in, made my choices. As I was reading, as I was going back and forth and doing the Italian stuff, I remember Jim kind of breaking character and kind of chuckling a couple times. And so basically I finished the audition, everything went well. And I thought they were going to offer me the job right then and there. And so they're like, thank you very much. I'll see you. Take care. I'm like, Georgianne Walken was working the camera that day. And she goes, Federico, go home, have a great weekend, have a beer. We'll contact you next week. I'm like, okay. Monday, I'm with a client here in the studio, and phone rings. Go over there, pick it up. Is this Federico? I said, yeah. Okay, we just need your sizes. What size is your neck and your sleeve? I said, who is this? He goes, this is Federico Castelluccio? I said, yes. I said, who is it? She goes, this is Wardrobe from Sopranos. She goes, yeah, from Sopranos. I'm like, holy shit, does this mean I got the job? She goes, nobody told you? Apparently, what happened was my agent left a message on my service in New York City. I had a number back then, and so I never checked it. And that's what happened. I wound up knowing from the wardrobe department.
Can we? It's a great story. Can we talk about that priceless painting you picked up for pennies on the dollar? Because I'm in love. I'm in love with that story. I don't know all the nuts and the bolts of it. I just know it was about 2014. It was in Frankfurt, Germany.
That's right.
There's an auction now. Do you follow? I'm guessing you follow the world closely, and you know that world. You have an expertise in it. You buy and sell paintings as well as paint?
Yeah, sometimes I'll research something and kind of turns out to be not, something that's not what I thought it was, and then I'll put it sort of back in auction or sell it. But for the most part, I like collecting. I built a collection over the past 20-something years, 28 years. And there's a lot of significant discoveries that are in the collection, and things that were lost for who knows how many hundreds of years, and now I've basically brought them back in the proper chronology of that particular artist and the oeuvre of that particular artist. And so that painting was that was a painter that I studied when I was in school. And I had done a paper when I went to, I had to do choose a painting from the 17th century, and I was going to choose a Rembrandt painting at the Met. So I walk in and I see this other painting that it just blew me away. It was like Samson, and kind of being taken from the Philistines, and they were cutting his hair. It's like, and the main figure was just his back. And you see everybody else's faces, and it was just a powerful image. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, Guercino, wow. I wasn't familiar with this painter at the time. So I changed my idea from doing the Rembrandt to the Guercino. And so I studied this painter closely, and his work and the works of his studio, let's put it, studio assistants, have kind of left an indelible mark on my mind. And I would go anywhere I would go in the world, if I was traveling for work or whatever, I'd always find like a church or a museum or something that had Guercino paintings in it. And I was visiting Frankfurt in Germany for the first time in 2010, and I came across this little what I thought was an antique shop turned out to be a small auction house. And the guy let me in, and I was looking, and I was with Yvonne, my girlfriend at the time. And so I'm on the landing before I went to the second floor, because he said, there's more paintings on the second floor, if that's what you like. I came across a stack of paintings that were kind of against the wall. They were getting ready to do an exhibition. And so I pulled the two paintings that were in front of this one painting where I saw just the top of the head like this, pulled it forward, and I was like, oh my God, this is master's work here. This is by Guercino. And I said to Yvonne, this is by Guercino. She goes, what? I said, shh, quiet. So I said to the manager, I said, can I ask you a question? So he comes up and I said, what can you tell me about this painting? I just wanted to see if he knew what it was, because there's painting stacked on top of it and on a landing going to the second floor. And he goes, well, it's probably 18th century. It's been cut down. It's a Holy Sebastian. And I'm like, this guy he doesn't have any idea of what this is. So I tried to buy it from him right then and there. Then he says, no, you got to come back to the auction. We signed a consignment with the family. The person died that owned it, and it has to go through auction, public auction. I said, okay. So when's the auction? Is it a couple of days? He goes, no, in 3.5 weeks. So you can imagine me. I'm like saying, oh, who else is going to see this and know exactly what it is? And I knew it was in my gut that this is by the painter, but it was hidden from years of yellowing varnish, campaigns of overpaint, and somebody had the bright idea of painting, leaves over his head, but he's standing, it's St. Sebastian, kind of tied to a tree. And he had arrows fired into him, and he was still alive, basically, sort of like divine intervention. And so I was able to understand the painting because I was looking at it in the original. And as I was looking at it closely, I saw that the original paint was underneath what didn't look right to me. Mm-hmm. And so that was overpaint. So someone, for some reason, overpainted it. They would do that back in the 18th century and the 19th century because who knows, someone had a bright idea. I want some leaves up there. I want this. And they would paint into these masterworks, And so it gets lost over the years. And it was lost, but I found it. And so what happened was I said to the guy, I said, listen, I would like to come back and take some pictures of this in the daylight. Would it be all right if I came tomorrow? And he goes, yeah, sure. I said, what would it cost to, restore this? And he goes, well, I have my conservator coming tomorrow. He'll be able to tell you. And I said, okay, all right. I'm wondering if that was such a good idea, because I'm thinking, wow, what if this guy knows what the painting is and he tells him?
Right.
So the guy comes in the next day. Name is Yusuf Shiraz. Great guy. I'm still friends with him, actually, to this day. And he's looking at the frame. He's like, whoa, it's a great frame. It's a beautiful frame. He's looking at the back. And he's enamored with the frame. It turns out he's like one of the largest period frame collectors in Europe. And I said, yeah, it is a good frame. He goes, I said, well, what would it cost to restore this, clean and restore? And he was like, oh, probably like 10,000 euros. I said, all right, okay. So I asked the guy if I could take pictures. He goes, don't worry. He goes, I'll send you the pictures. He goes, give me your email address. And so I'm trying to, I had a hat on. I was trying to, because he didn't recognize me at the time. And so I give him my name and I give him my email. And so he writes me an email, sends me the pictures, and he goes, sorry, I didn't recognize you, Mr. Soprano.
Oh my God.
And so I'm like, all right, my cover was blown. And I'm like, okay, well, listen, I'm not one of the rich ones, okay?
I'm one of the scale guys.
Yeah, one of the scale guys.
What was the estimate? Like, I've done a few auctions with cars. They'll usually give you an estimate. They'll go,
the estimate, yeah. Go ahead.
They'll go, it's between 40, that's between 50 and 65K or something. I mean, or whatever it is.
I knew that this is another reason why I knew they had no idea. It was because the estimate was 1,000 to 1,500 euros.
Whoa.
I'll take it.
How are you so confident that it was like an original, not a reproduction?
I've been collecting for something like 27 years, and I'm used to seeing paintings in their raw state when you take the
But you purchased it for 68K, is that correct?
It was 49,000 euros, which came out to about 70,000. Yeah.
Right.
Like
and, they'll add the VIG on sometimes for the auction house, 10, 12%, whatever. But if the estimate is 1,000 to 1,500 euros, then someone else in the room knows something to get it up to 60 some odd.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. there were about 6 or 7 people bidding on it in the room. They just loved the painting. It was just a beautiful image, but they all kind of, because I kept bidding, and I was bidding in German. And this is the first time I ever did an auction in Germany. And so at one point I thought I had the bid. And so, it just went quiet, and I'm thinking I have the bid. So, and then Yvonne hits me. She goes, I said, wow, what's going on? She goes, they're waiting for you to bid. I said, oh, okay, bid. And so everybody just like kind of dropped out in the actual auction house. But there was someone on the phone that manager was.
Right.
And it turns out, I found out later, it was a gallery in London who actually didn't examine the original. They only saw digital images of it. But I examined the original, so I was way more confident than they were. And so they just dropped out at 49.
Wow.
And they think that thing's worth $10 million today?
I would think probably closer to 5, I would think. They said that was ArtNet. ArtNet does basically, they did their own kind of estimate of the painting. And at the time, there was one that sold for 14 million and another one that sold for close to 9 million. And so that they were kind of estimating it would sell for that. But, the real price, I think, was probably around 5.
Well, I never buy art, but I buy cars.
That's cool, man.
Like you buy. I have 13 Paul Newman race cars and stuff like that. But
that's cool.
Our two worlds did collide at some point, because BMW they actually made what they called art cars. You've probably heard of. Andy Warhol painted one. There's a guy by the name of Frank Stella.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Frank Stella, still alive, I guess, painted art cars. They BMW made art cars. And at some point, a Frank Stella BMW M1 art car about 11 years ago was going up for sale at Bonham's auction in Pebble Beach. And I was kind of thinking how you were thinking. Like, I saw it in their catalog, and I started looking up Frank Stella. Frank Stella does modern stuff, but he has some small paintings of like $3 million. He had some.
Yep.
I mean, obviously you've heard of him. You live in that world, but he's got expensive stuff out there. And this was a BMW M1 79. You can probably find it's a Frank Stella art car. It's not. The cars didn't look. You're looking at a 3.0 or 3.5.
Of course I am.
Come on.
I said M1, baby.
Stick to what you know, like The Sopranos.
It was an M1 Pro car painted by Frank Stella. And
did you win it?
No, because I had this experience, which is I called the auction house, and it had the reserve, or it had the estimate. It was like $400,000 to $500,000.
Drea Di Matteo outbid him, basically.
That's right. And I said, geez, a regular Pro M1 Pro car is about $400,000 or $500,000. This is an art car by Frank Stella, and they're like, yeah, people don't seem that interested in it or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, we can. Can you see it?
We can't show it to you.
Oh, we can't show it to you on the computer.
Do you remember what he painted on the car?
It's just a bunch of different colors and lines. It was kind of like Andy Warhol did the same stuff. They'd get the modern guys and they just kind of paint them all sort of modern. And they weren't like your painting. It was just a BMW art car done by Frank Stella. And I was like, oh, this thing's going to be worth millions of dollars one day. And they said, maybe $400,000, or the guy even had it cheaper, like $375 or something like that. And I went to the auction like the morning of, and they had it backed up a hill, a dirt hill. And it was literally just dusty. It was like they're doing it on a golf course. They're trying to make room. And it was like, it was covered in dust. No one was standing next to it. No one looked at it. No one anything. And I was like, oh my God, if we could get this car. You get a BMW M1 Pro car, it'd be worth, they're worth $1 million today, maybe a little bit more. So if you could have got it for $400,000, I knew that would be good. But an art car, God knows, it's astronomical. And especially a guy who's alive and his paintings are selling for $3-4 million. And so I had to go do a race. I was actually going to the track at Laguna Seca, and I left my friend behind, and I said, I'll be with you on the phone. And I said, they think we can get this thing for like $375, maybe $400,000. And he was on the phone at the auction, and I was like at the racetrack, and he's like, okay, it's up. It's at 300. It's at 4. It's at 500. It's at 6. It's at 700. It's at 800.
Goodbye.
And I was like, okay, the asshole got me all. Now, it ended up selling for like $850. Would still be the best $850 you've ever spent in your life today, because a car's got to be worth $4 or $5 million or whatever it is. But the fact that they told me, $375, maybe $400.
Got you drooling.
From $375.
When it cracked 8, I was out. Somebody bought that car. It was at the Guggenheim, I think, for a while, just speaking of cars and art, but I don't know. And I don't know if Frank Stella's still alive. I didn't he was older at the time. Gina will take a look. All right, hang with us for a second. Let me do a quick spot for Trico. Over a century ago, Trico was the first to make wiper blades. Could have put them on that Frank Stella art car. Been a step ahead of Mother Nature ever since. Trico engineers study your specific driving conditions, so they're ready for anything, even if it rains, cats, and dogs, whatever the weather. Trico wipers maintain maximum windshield contact, no matter what your driving habits. I have them on my Truckster. Paul Bryan talked to his mechanic uncle. He said, always go with Trico. So no matter what your driving habits are, you'll always find the right wiper blade for your vehicle at Trico. Trico, the future of wipers since 1917. To find a store near you and see the latest offers, visit TricoCatsandDogs.com. That is TricoCatsandDogs.com. Is Frank Stella still alive?
85 years young.
85 years young. I was also doing when artists die, doesn't the stuff go up?
Right.
And he
Right?
wasn't young, and I was looking at a lot of his little paintings. They seem to be expensive.
Yeah. And interesting, known for noted his work in minimalism and post-painterly abstraction. That's what I want to be known for.
I would too.
Post-painterly abstraction.
Now, Federico has no respect for Frank Stella, I agree. Because these guys just draw lines on shit.
Yeah, rolling his eyes.
I was more, this is a BMW art car, and there's about 5 or 6 of these on the planet. One of them's an Andy Warhol art car, which has got to be worth, an arm and a leg today. But that was the math I was doing.
First class tickets to anywhere in the world, you are each getting $10,000.
Better than Oprah's favorite things.
Yeah.
So this happened.
Pontiac.
This came on the heels of this private equity firm Blackstone buying a majority stake in the company for now a reported $1.2 billion. So a little present to everybody after that.
I like it.
Full stop.
I think it sends a dangerous message.
That you're cared about?
I have employees.